Okay, here we are. So I got a new software and it records my entire screen. The only downside is it might be like a little choppy looking, but it's the best I could do for free. So here we are in FL Studio. I have your files right here. Just gonna drag them in. Okay. So from the looks of it, they are not named at all. So, let's do this. That looks, first of all, gotta get the BPM correct. What is it? 125, what's 125 divided by 2? 62.5. Okay, so that should be good. I also have not listened to this at all. So, yeah, we're just doing this. Haven't listened to it yet. Okay, so that looks like a melody. That looks like a melody. Anything else that looks like a melody? This looks like a melody, maybe? And then, that probably is too. Let's do this. Just move everything down. And then, I think, can't really tell. I'm assuming that's a melody. This looks like a bass line. Don't know what that is, but just put it there. And then, okay, so that's the sub. That's probably the kick, I would imagine. Hi-hats probably. This is, I don't know, but something else. Okay. So, let's just listen to this how it is. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm just going to show you what I'm hearing initially. Obviously, this is like not mixed at all, so there's a ton that I'm going to do to it. But let me show you this frequency range that I'm hearing that is like right off the bat gross. So yeah, those two ranges automatically stick out. So I already know that I'm going to be doing some cutting there. Okay, let's just do this. We're going to mute everything up here. I'm assuming that's all melodic stuff, and we're just going to start from the beginning. So let's start with the kick. I don't know what this is yet. I'll get to that, I guess. My cat is at my door meowing like crazy. Okay, that looks like a clap. We're just going to mute that. And the sub, we're going to mute. Okay, so the kick. Let's just do this. Okay, kick pretty loud. I'm just going to... I'll just do this as I go, actually. I also haven't used FL Studio in forever, so... How do I do this? How do I rename something? Oh yeah, here we go. Kick. Okay, so that's the kick, and just for the sake of going fast here. Okay. Kick and sub. We got those. Okay, so the kick, I'm just going to add it to my kick track to see what it does. So here we go. So it's routed to that one. Let's see. Okay, so it distorts it a little. I think, let's see. Okay, I think I'm going to keep that compressor how it is, just because it's like it's making it louder, even though it was already pretty loud. Let's see if I even need to do that. Yeah, I could leave it, I could tone this down a little, so let's just do that. Okay, another thing that I want to do is I want to shorten the kick a little. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that, considering that this is like a full audio clip. I'm going to try to use this noise gate. Obviously, like, if when you're doing this, you could just, go in here and turn down the out or whatever. But I'm just going to try to finesse this. So let's see. How do I pause it? Oh, there we go. Okay. So, can I zoom in? There we go. Pause. Okay. So, let's see. The threshold, we'll set it at about right there. Actually, you know what? We'll just do this. We're going to reset the compression and do the noise gate first, and then we'll compress it a little. So, let's just get a sample in there. Okay. So, I'm going to bring this threshold to right after that initial thing, and then turn the gain all the way down, and now we'll see. Let's see. Okay, it's doing a little. I'm going to turn the release down a little. Okay, we're going to turn the threshold up a tiny bit. Okay, so I think that's decent. It's good enough, and now we're just going to compress it a little. I already know what I want to do, so I'm going to turn the threshold down a little to there, and then we'll turn the gain up. Okay, so I think that sounds pretty good. I personally think when I'm compressing this hard, a good rule of thumb is that I turn the gain up the same level that the threshold is down. So you'll see this green is 0 dB and the threshold is at negative 2.6, 2.7 roughly. And then the gain is at 2.5. And then also keep in mind that the sausage fattener and EQ are also on. Like I said, those are just standards for me. So I just kind of have those on already. And the kick already sounds, in my opinion, better. It's a little shorter, but that's kind of what you want from a kick. I personally don't like when a kick has that sub tail, because you don't really need that. So that's what it sounds like with all of my stuff, and this is without. Now, it does sound a little distorted on its own, but once the beat is playing and everything is around it, you're not going to notice that distortion nearly as much. And when I say distortion, I don't mean higher frequency distortion. I mean distortion in this kind of low mid area. Right around here. Now, I'm going to show you another trick with kicks. I'm going to leave this how it is just because I like it. So I'm going to go down to this EQ, and I'm going to show you a little trick to make kicks a little cleaner. So basically, I'm going to explain what I'm doing first, and then I'm just going to do it. So basically the technique, I may have already told you about this, but the technique is you find the spot in the kick where it's really subwoofy and roomy. and then you put a dip there, and then usually right below that there's a part in the kick which like is like the real like important part, and so you put a little bump there. I'll show you. So see right around here, like this is where the kick is a little like roomy. So I'm gonna put a little dip right here. Make it a little thinner. And then I'm gonna end up putting a bump somewhere around here. So it's important to note that I'm not looking for the bass frequencies down here. I'm not looking for those. I'm looking for where the kick hits, like on the transient, which is right above it, somewhere around here. Now, as you'll notice, I'm going above 0 dB, so I'm literally just going to add a limiter. I'm going to put this up a little so it's not as harsh, just to like 10. And I'm not really going to touch any of this. Okay, so it might add a little digital distortion, but again, that's okay, I think, for now. If anything, we can figure it out later. Another thing that I could have done is I could turn this off, and I can literally just turn the volume down. Okay, so there it's hitting at the same as it was before. But I personally, I don't know. It's just a preference thing. Depends on the rest of the beat. But like I said, I base the volume off of the kick, and that's why I'm doing it first. So the volume of the kick, in a sense, doesn't really matter. Because after we do the kick, we're going to make everything else around the kick. And then there's a little area where I kind of want to get rid of. Just like that area, maybe. Yeah, that was bothering me just a little bit. Okay, so gonna move on now. The kick is good. I'm not gonna bring the sub in yet. I'm gonna focus on the other percussive elements. So let's do the clap. I'm assuming this is the clap. Okay, yeah. Automatically, that clap sounds disgusting. So let's do this. Let's rename it. Clap. Make it green. And then I'm going to add it to my clap channel here. Let's see if that did anything. I'm just going to put this like right before it. Okay, it didn't really do anything. Made it a little thinner. Might undo that. I'm going to bring this down a little. Just bring that out. Okay, so what I'm seeing and hearing is right around here. Absolutely disgusting. So let's see. Okay, so what I'm also listening for is these high frequencies to make sure that I'm not accidentally taking out something that I want to keep. I'm going to put a little slight bump there just so I can keep those high frequencies. Okay, now there's some stuff down here that I want to get rid of, I think. I'm going to just do that now. Okay, this little section, I'm going to put a little dip, just subtle. I mean, this clap in itself is like kind of but I'm going to use it anyways. And then this little section. Yeah, because you can see those like bands right there are really close together and really saturated, and that's where they're standing out, where we want to tame them. And I think I'm going to bring up these highs a little. Another thing that I do is sometimes if I'm getting a very complicated EQ like this, I'll kind of just leave it because I know it's improving, and then I'll go to a whole nother one and analyze like that. Yeah, so I still want to get rid of a little bit of these, so I'm going to do that. And then maybe just a very slight thing there. And then I'll increase the highs a little more. Okay, and now I'm just going to turn up the volume a little. Okay, another thing that I'm going to do, because I'm noticing when the clap hits with the kick, it sounds a lot quieter. So listen to this clap compared to this clap. See, it kind of gets lost. Now, that could be because the kick is too loud, but because we're basing everything on the kick, I'm going to just add some stereo separation to this, just to give it a little help. So let's use Ozone Imager. Again, if you don't have this, get it. I think this mode is a little better for percussion. And I'm just going to turn it up to like 20. And turn this up a little. Okay, that's a little too wide. So we'll turn that down. We'll cut this in half. I just want a little extra signal on the sides. Okay, maybe a tiny bit more. Yeah, so it adds a little bit. Again, I'm not a huge fan of this clap in itself, but doing what I can. Okay. I think I'm going to just do one more thing to the clap, because it is still kind of dirty. Like this area, I do want to put another dip. Maybe, yeah, just a little. And then just for good measure, we'll put a low cut. Ooh. Okay, let's move on because this clap, we can always come back to it. Let's do the hi-hats. Now, in my last video, for some reason, there was like this weird distortion when the hi-hats were playing. I really hope it doesn't happen again. We're going to start with the closed ones. These should be fairly quick. And then I'm just going to add them to my hats channel. And, okay, so this is going to bother me. Color, okay. So this is what they sound like before. Okay, before I even turn this back on, I'm going to pan them to the right a little because there's a lot on the left. And I don't know if that was intentional, but it sounds a little off. the way that I can tell that it's like mostly in the center, obviously by listening, but also by looking at the signal and seeing that they balance out. Okay, that sounds mostly good. Now I'm going to turn this back on and see how it sounds. Okay. I'm going to turn them up a little bit and then look at the EQ. Okay, I'm going to turn them up a little louder. So you'll see that I took out this section, which was already there, because I know that most like metal sounding hi-hats have that annoying shit right there. And then to bring back some life, I increased these high frequencies. And then of course doing a low cut there, just in case. I also have the stereo widener thing. By the way, these are my settings, so you can see them. I might dial it back. Well, no, I think it's good. It also adds a little bit of like a chorusy effect, which I think is okay. Because the more you listen to it, the more it's like, you don't really notice. And then this EQ isn't even really doing anything. Okay, now I'm assuming this is an open hi-hat, which we will rename. And add it to the corresponding channel. This is pretty much mixed the same way as my closed one. Okay, I think I see what you did here, where you panned this hi-hat to the right and the other one to the left. So I'm gonna do this. Let's see, what is this one at? 34 right? So maybe 34 left. Okay. Also, I do have the stereo widener on, so if I turn that off, you hear it's like right in the middle. I'm going to turn it on and then look at the EQ. As we can see, again, this area, hi-hats always have a dip there. And it still retains that like little bit of character in there. And if you want to bring it back, just bring up the highs like I did. Okay. And now what I'm going to do, now that I mixed both of those, I'm going to redo what you did with the panning, but I'm going to do it in the mixer. So with the hats, and I'm pretty sure this pan in the mixer happens after all the plugins, whereas the one over here happens before. So the hi-hats were to the right, so I'm just going to do like 25 right. Wait, was it right or was it left? Oh, they were left. So I'm going to do 20% left, open hi-hat, 20% right. And what you get there is some obvious panning, but because there's a stereo separation, it's not as hard. And there's still like some closed hi-hat signal on the right and still some open hi-hat signal on the left. Because the signal that I'm panning is so much wider, you know what I mean? Let me just make sure I'm still recording here. I am. Okay. This is going to be a long one. Okay. Let's see. What's next? Is that everything? Okay, what's this? Okay, that's just a little effect. We'll just save that for last. Let's do the sub. Okay, gotta unmute it first. Okay, so that sounds pretty good on its own, to be honest. I haven't even put it on a channel. So I'm gonna treat this how I treat my sub when it's like just an audio sample. So let's put it on the sub channel, and for now I'm just gonna turn everything off. Okay, that is a good volume. Now you might be thinking like, oh, it's too quiet. Well, first of all, I have the sausage fattener coming, and also like because I'm limiting my beat in the end like I did in the other video, and also because when somebody takes this beat into the studio, they're probably going to do some mastering anyways. You don't have to worry about the volume of your sub being too high. So I'm happy with where it is right now, and obviously I'm going to make it a little louder anyways. So let's see what these plugins do. Okay, so this first EQ, it's obviously taking out some of these mids, and I think that's okay because you still get that distortion, and then the sausage fattener is going to kind of bring out the ones that are still kind of there, but still getting dipped right around here. Okay, I'm going to just turn this down a little because it is like kind of distorting it too much. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to skip this limiter because that's the side chaining, and I'm going to go to this EQ. I think it sounds mostly good, but there's a little bit of stuff that I think I want to take out. Yeah, I'm gonna just dip that down a tiny bit. And then I'm gonna make this not so drastic, so it lets in some of those mids that might have got lost. And then I'm gonna increase the sub maybe a little bit. Yeah, so I just changed that area because I think, like, I don't want, unless it's this one that I'm hearing. Yeah, maybe get rid of that. So my mentality when cutting like that is I'm not trying to get rid of those frequencies. I'm trying to just lessen them so that they don't stick out as much and they let the other good stuff come through, like the super low end and this mid stuff. That's the reason why I'm putting that there. I'm not trying to get rid of those, and I don't necessarily think they sound bad. I just think they're too loud. So that's with it, and this is without. Turn it back on. So in my opinion, when this EQ is off, it's a little too like growly, if that makes sense. I'm also just gonna dampen this curve a little. Maybe bring it back out like that. Yeah, so I think that sounds good. It's hitting at like -4, which is okay. Last thing I'm going to do is this the side chain, and that's going to kind of change that and allow me to turn the volume up a little. Since you can see what I'm doing now, I'm just going to go over how I side chain. So you know what? Let me just get rid of this. And I'm just going to set everything back to how it was. I think that's it, like roughly like that. Okay, so I have my kick channel, and then I look at my sub channel. I don't click it, but I go down to this arrow. I click it, turn this all the way down. Then I go to my sub channel, and I open a Fruity limiter, make sure it's on, and then I switch it to compressor, and I put this side chain to 1. So now, if I turn the threshold down a little, you'll see what happens. So if you see this like blue line right here, that's the signal of the kick, and that's what it's basing the side chain off of. So if I lower the threshold to like down here, you'll see that based on that signal and the amount of the ratio that I put, it's going to essentially compress or side chain the white, which is the sub. And then also I'm going to turn the release down a little and the sustain all the way down, because you don't need sustain when you're side chaining. Another quick note, I always turn the ratio basically all the way up and then use the threshold to determine how much side chain that I want. Okay, I think that's maybe a little more, but I think that's pretty good. So let's hear it without real quick. And then with. It's kind of a subtle difference, but it just like, it cleans it up. Another thing that I kind of want to do, which it might be a little nitpicky, I want to hear something real quick. Okay, so there's a frequency that is like popping out to me when it goes to that other note that I kind of want to just deal with. Okay, so right here, I think. Yeah. So it's a little too like, woo. Like, I want to get rid of that. So this frequency, what I'm basically going to do is make it really thin, right on the note, and then I'm just going to turn it down a little so that that one specific frequency is tamed. Yeah, I think that sounds a lot better. Okay, so I think that's good for the drums. I don't think there's anything else really. Okay, what is this thing? Let's see. Come on. Okay. What is this? Okay, I don't know what that's supposed to be, but I'm just going to run with it. And we're going to call it blurp. Because that's what it sounds like. I'm going to take a guess and say that that is based on the sub. So what I'm going to do is link it to the sub channel and just see how it sounds. And then let's see what it sounds like without it. Okay, I think it personally sounds a little gross. But you still feel that distortion. What I'm going to do is turn it up a little. And this is kind of just being lazy, like linking it to the same channel, but it doesn't really happen too much throughout the beat, and I don't think it's a super important sound. Yeah, it happens like twice. So let's hear the difference between the sub and that and make sure that they're kind of at the same volume. Yeah, I think it sounds good. Again, I personally would not have used that sound, but whatever. Okay, let's go to the melody. I'm gonna go with this section right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute all the drums for now, because I don't want the drums to interfere with my hearing of the melody. So let's start with this. This looks like it's like the bass. Okay, so I already know what I'm going to do to this piano thing. Okay, let's put this in a mixer. Okay, I'm just going to do my thing and then I'll explain it after. Okay, so I did that EQ, which was kind of just the basis for my EQing, and now I'm going to go to the second one that it might be a little more specific. Okay, so obviously the sound got quieter, but again, I'm focused on cleanliness first, so I'm going to turn it back up a little. And I think that sounds relatively clean. I'm just going to put one more low cut in the second EQ, just as a precaution. So you'll see I took out a little bit of the frequencies down here, but I think that's okay because once the other sounds are in, I haven't even heard the other sounds really, so we'll see what happens. But I think that's okay. It did thin out the sound a little, but again, I think that's okay because your fatness is going to come from like your bass and all that, so you're good. Okay, next let's listen to this on its own. Okay, so first off, listening to this and listening to the other piano sound, they're very similar in their frequency ranges. So I'm thinking of these as sort of like a puzzle piece, right? So whatever I took out of this sound, in a sense, I want to not add to this, but leave into this sound. Or, in other words, the frequencies that I want in this sound, I'm going to make sure that they're not poking through in the first sound. So in this sound, it has some really nice high frequencies, so I'm going to take advantage of those. So let's name it synth thing. I don't know why I keep putting the word thing, but whatever. And then we'll put it in the mixer. Okay. Now I'm just going to EQ it based on what I just said. Now, to bring out those good frequencies even more, I'm going to add a little bit of OTT, if I can find it. Here it is. So, just as an example, it's kind of small, but the depth is at 100. Listen to what it sounds like all the way up. Obviously not what we want, super crushed, but I'm going to turn it down to like 20. And see what that sounds like. Yeah, so it is doing what I wanted it to do, where it's bringing out those higher frequencies, but it did bring back some lower ones that I don't want, so I'm going to go to this EQ and just fix that. And then there's some in here that I also want to get rid of. Okay, so I know I said that this area is dangerous, but this sound doesn't have a ton of those frequencies. So I'm just putting this little thing here to kind of bring out a little and give it a little more life. And then I'm going to put a little dip right there. And I think that's good for that sound. Now let's hear it with the piano and see what's going on. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to turn this up a little. Actually, no. I'm going to turn the piano down to where it was. And then I'm going to go back into the piano and see what I can do. So the reason I took out even more in the piano there is because these frequencies in the piano and those frequencies in the sound that I just mixed are stacking on top of each other, and it's too much. Now another thing that I'm going to add to the piano is this panomatic thing. And basically you can set this to, let's see, we're going to turn it to pan, and we're just going to set it to this setting, turn the speed up, and you'll see, well, you'll hear that it kind of pans the sound back and forth based on like a curve that you can't really see. I'm going to turn up the amount a lot so you can really hear what it's doing. So I'm going to turn up the speed and then turn down the amount. So that way those little doo-doo-doo-doo-doo things can kind of like bounce back and forth a little. And then I'm going to just go back into this EQ because there's still some stuff I want to fix. Yeah, this area is like really shitty, so I'm just going to add another dip there. Yeah, I think that's okay. I do like this sound being kind of like the primary one. Let's just move on to this thing, whatever it is. Okay, so this also shares some frequencies with this last sound. So what I'm going to do with this sound, so it's kind of wide, I'm going to put it a little more in the middle, like this. Just a little, so that way this sound, since it's super wide, can poke through on the sides. Okay, I'm also hearing some clicking. I just want to see like what that is. Oh wait, I think it's because of my loop. Yeah, it was because of my loop. Okay, so yeah, there's no clicking going on, so we're good. It's just because of the loop. Okay, let's mix this sound. This section is annoying. You can already hear it, so I'm gonna put a dip there. And then a little bit right here too. And then I'm gonna increase the highs. And then bring this up even more. Okay, now let's hear that with the last sound. Okay, I'm actually gonna bring down the highs because I think it's too much. And then the piano, let's see how that sounds with everything. Okay, I'm also going to just make a little bit of a dip here in the highs. Now, what I'm doing here, it should be noted that I don't do this with every sound. Like, if a sound is clean enough, you don't need to do it, but this sound in particular, and the piano and everything, were a little, like, gross sounding, so that's why I did it. Okay, we're at 51 minutes. Probably will be longer than an hour. Okay, let's look at this sound. Okay, so I don't really know what is like the main sound in this beat. Seems like, okay, one thing that I'm noticing in this compared to, like, say a beat that I would make is you don't really have one sound that's kind of like the main driving sound, and that's kind of where your mixes might be falling apart. Because if you don't really know which sound is the main sound, then all of your sounds are going to be competing by default. It's sort of like, you know, when I mix the drums, the kick, I base everything volume-wise off of that. So with, like, your melodies, you kind of want to pick one sound that's like your bass, and then base all of your mixing off of that one sound. So I'm kind of struggling right now to pick which one is the main sound. But, I mean, it'll still work out in the end. But again, it's just something to note. So let's take care of this sound. We got some bells. Put it in here. Okay. Okay, these are pretty clean. Just gonna do some subtle mixing. Now, this little thing in here where it's like, boo, 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 I like those. So I'm gonna put a little bump right here. And then kind of put a dip right here to, bring even more attention to them. And then just a little cut up here. Actually, I take that back. Just a subtle one, and then maybe to get rid of that, like, super metallic grossness. Okay. Yeah. If I wanted to, I could split this up and have, like, everything up from here up its own sound, and then from here down its own sound, but I don't feel like doing that. Okay, let's listen to all the melodies together and try to make sense of everything. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a synth bus, I guess. So let's just name this synths. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these piano things when you're doing this, they're automatically routed to the master. So I'm going to turn the master all the way down and then turn this up to 100. Keep in mind that if you turn it all the way up, it's like 120 or something. So you want to look up here in the top corner to make sure that it's 100. Did I get everything? Yes. Okay. So now, if I press play, basically this is all of the melody together. And as you can see, there's already an EQ there. And if this was like drums, I would put a limiter, but I don't think I need one because it's not going to get that loud. So now I can basically EQ everything at the same time, which is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I think that sounds good. As far as the balance of all the sounds, let's just do one more check. So I turned that blue synth down because I thought it was a little too loud compared to the rest. And then I'm going to add... actually, nah, I guess I don't really need this. Yeah, I'm just going to make the bells a tiny bit wider. Just a little. Yeah, just a tiny bit, and then I'm just gonna do one more tweak to the bells. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so let's see, what else is there? This bass sound. Okay, it's obviously like very loud comparatively, but that's just because I turned everything down with the EQing. So let's see here. I'm gonna go to this section actually. Okay, I don't know if this is meant to be like another sub or if it's meant to be like a more like cinematic type bass, but I'm gonna mix it how I think it should be. And if I get it wrong, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna put it into a channel here and let's go for it. Okay, I'm looking for something to give it a little more ambiance. This might be a little weird, but I'm gonna add some chorus. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to the EQ because the chorus made it wide, and so it kind of like doubled the signal. So I'm just gonna tame some frequencies. Okay, I think that sounds good volume-wise. Let's listen. I mean, I won't really know because I'm gonna base the volume of the rest of the melody on the drums. So I'm just gonna leave it for now and then get to it later. Now let's add in this thing. I'm gonna turn off the bass for now. Okay, this thing's cool. I didn't even name it, I guess, but fuck it. Okay, the only thing that I'm gonna do here is a very subtle, like low cut, just to get rid of any like dumb frequencies down there. Okay, this is a very hard sound to mix because there's a lot of shit going on, but I just added some stuff to kind of get rid of some annoying stuff. Like I said, it's kind of hard to mix because of just how the sound is, but... Okay, not too much I can do to that. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, then there's this little effect. I'm gonna mix it with the melody. Okay, I think I know what I'm gonna do to this. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Okay, that's too short of a loop. Okay, I think that's good. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to explain my EQ process again, but basically just took out some shitty frequencies. Now, I think that was everything. So now what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to make some EQ tweaks here and there, but I'm basically just going to let the beat play and balance out all of the volumes. So I'm going to start with the drums, because those I know should be mostly good. Let's do... let's just loop this section here. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do it like this instead, so I can just do everything in the mixer. So right there, I just used this knob to add some stereo separation. I like this one too because it keeps the stuff in the center. It just adds stuff on the side. Okay, I just realized, did I delete the hi-hats? I think I might have. Okay, well, there they are. So you'll notice that I just kind of redid some of the volume decisions that I initially changed. And that's because what matters, obviously, in the end is how everything sounds in the context of the whole beat. So I felt that this synth actually got lost. So I turned it back up, and then that I felt that the effect was too loud, so I turned it back down. Okay, now I'm just going to go over, actually, we'll just go right here to get those last two sounds mixed. Okay, so the drums are a lot louder than the melody, but I know that I'm going to do some limiting after, and it's going to bring that volume back up. Okay, I think that's pretty good for now. Now let's go over to the master. So this EQ, like I said, is just always on. I just leave it. Ozone Imager, let's see, what's it at? 13%. I'm going to turn it down to like 10. But turn that on just to give it some more stereo. Why is it not working? Just adds like a nice little touch. It adds just enough stereo where it's like, oh, yeah, I probably could have made it a little louder. Now this EQ, I'm going to use to kind of just EQ the entire beat as a whole. Okay, notice that these are very subtle, but they're in those frequency ranges that I mentioned in the other video. 250, like 7 to 900. This is a little lower than usual, but like 14 to 1900 up here in like the 6,000 range. I didn't do anything at 3,400. I didn't really hear anything that I didn't like. And then I just bumped up the super highs just a little to give it a little more crispiness. Okay, so this is the Fletcher-Munson curve that I mentioned that you couldn't see. Here is what it actually looks like. Obviously, like, this is way too drastic of an EQ to have on the master, so that's why I have these subtle versions. So let's do some A and B and see if it does anything good. Again, sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Okay, yeah, it doesn't really improve it. To be honest, this is only in my master because sometimes I used to use it as like a crutch to like potentially fix the mix. You can try it out, but I mean, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really do anything for this. And then lastly, we have the limiter, which is just making things louder. I usually keep it at the same settings. Yeah, so let's just hear what that does. Okay, so we limited it to make it louder. Now I'm just going to do one more EQ to just tame those frequencies that the limiter brought out. Another thing that I want to mention too about the melodies is, like, as you can hear, when only the piano is playing, it's kind of like, it seems quiet, right? But if I was to turn this up in this section, then when I stack it with all the other melodies, it's going to be too loud. So that's another problem that you run into when you don't pick one melody to be like your main driving force of the melody. And then that little like thing, I'm going to turn that up just a tiny bit. I want it to stick out, especially in this section. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, so I think that is a mixed beat. I don't really know how to A and B it because there's so much like volume changes and stuff, but let's just try. So I'm gonna just take everything off. We'll get rid of these things. Okay, so this is what it sounded like before, kinda. And then with everything, I wish there was just like one button that I could press, but okay. Okay, so I know the beat is done, but I'm hearing something that I kind of want to try and see if it does anything. So the sub, it doesn't really have a lot of attack. So I want to see if I can do something to kind of add some attack. So I'm just going to solo it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a transient master. And I'm going to add it before the sidechain, so that way that when the kick comes back in, it's not like contradicting the sidechain. So what this transient master does, it just either gets rid of a transient or it increases the transient. So I always turn on smooth just because I want it to be smooth. I'm going to turn up the attack and see what happens. This is without. All the way up. Okay, I kind of like that. And this doesn't really like mix anything. It just makes parts of it louder. So this is okay. It's okay that I'm doing this at the very end. I'm going to turn it like 75. So let's hear the difference in the context of the whole beat. And if I turn it off, where's the mixer? I'll do an A and B right here. Yeah, it just adds that little bit of attack to keep the bounce going. And I like it. Yeah. So I think that's pretty much done. Let me just listen to the intro one more time. Yeah, everything's good, nice and clean. And yeah, so that's how I would mix your beat.